Giles is my guest. He's with Chatham House, a leading British think tank. He is the group's Eurasia and Russia program. He's with that group. He joins us now from the UK. And Keir, good to see you. Your thoughts on this offer of condolence by Vladimir Putin?
Well, the most interesting part about that stilted obituary that Putin read alongside offering the condolences to the family was that even Putin doesn't actually say for sure that Prigozhin is among the dead. So there's still this element of uncertainty. The indicators are getting stronger that probably Prigozhin was in fact on the aircraft and is now no more, but it's still not a cast iron certainty. And with that in mind, we have to bear in mind that also anything about this is going to be a conspiracy theory maelstrom, and there's going to be layer upon layer of disinformation which we have to penetrate. There's never going to be a proper investigation into what really happened, especially, of course, if this was in fact shot down by Russia's own air defense forces.
Yeah, well said. And of course, we know what the reality is these days in Putin's Russia under that regime. So getting accurate information is probably highly unlikely, especially in this particular case. The American military saying they believe it was a surface-to-air missile. You've also got these stories swirling online that maybe he faked his own death and he's hiding out somewhere in Africa. I mean, we might never know here. Were you surprised, though, when you heard this story break yesterday, that this plane had gone down and that it appeared Prigozhin was on board?
No. Unfortunately, the surprise was 2 months ago when Prigozhin actually survived his attempt to march on Moscow with an armed group that was challenging the Ministry of Defense. The real surprise for most of the Russia watchers was that he remained unmurdered for so long, because by staying alive, he set a dangerous precedent within Russia. He showed other people that might have been inclined to stand against Russian power that you could do so, and you could in effect be pardoned and reach a deal with Putin instead of being swiftly dispatched. Now, in that respect, Putin or whoever has ordered this assassination has now restored natural balance within Russia and restored the way Russia is. But one of the most striking things about the media coverage of this, both within Russia and beyond, is the way it's now accepted as completely normal and natural, that mass murder, bringing along with it innocent people like the flight crew, is a normal way of dealing with challenges to leadership instead of putting them on trial. And it's just an indicator of how far Russia has gone that nobody's batting an eyelid at this method of solving political problems.
So, if it turns out that he was in fact targeted and assassinated, basically, why wait 2 months, Keir?
There are a lot of theories about why that may have happened, and it could simply be a combination of the right circumstances to carry out this attack. It could simply be that this was the first opportunity, because Prigozhin will have been paying a lot of attention to his own personal security. There are all kinds of other ideas about the precise timing. People have pointed out that Putin likes anniversaries, and it is exactly 2 months. There's also the distraction effort. There's been a lot of bad news in Russia lately, not least the humiliation of India being able to land on the moon when Russia can't. But it's far more likely to be some kind of operational consideration. Now, Prigozhin was under protection, plainly, from somebody in the Kremlin who allowed him to get away with all of those months of challenging the Ministry of Defense, not just verbally, but actually acting against them. It seems that possibly that protection has finally run out and somebody has reached out and touched him.
I also am curious as to what you think the implications are going to be. This was a big embarrassment for Putin when the rebellion happened. I mean, they got kind of close to Moscow. Now, of course, there was concerns about how firmly he had a grip on power. By doing this, again, if it turns out that this was an intentional targeting of Prigozhin, and again, we may never know. Certainly, I don't think the Putin regime is ever going to admit that sort of thing. But, what message does it send in terms of Putin's grip on power?
It's a balance of risk for Putin and for the Kremlin, because on the one hand, they have restored their reputation for ruthlessness in dealing with challenges. So anybody that might have been thinking of standing against Putin will now be rapidly reassessing their chances and adjusting their risk calculus. So in that respect, it'll be a chilling effect on any dissent. But also, of course, it risks creating a martyr. It risks stoking still further grievances, not just with Wagner, which still exists as an organized group, which is armed and well-trained and can actually do things in Russia if it's inclined to, but also with the broader sections of the Russian regular armed forces and of society, where they're actually much in sympathy with Prigozhin and what he stood for, as heinous as it might be. So on balance, it probably is that Putin has come out ahead of this and is now more secure. But that doesn't mean that he's resolved all of the problems that he faced as a result of Wagner. And there are some new ones created as well.
Keir Giles joining us, Senior Consulting Fellow of the Russia and Eurasian Program at Chatham House, a leading international think tank based in the UK. Great to have you part of our coverage here, Keir, and I really appreciate all those insights. Great stuff.
Thank you.